where we review and analyze the news and issues affecting us as citizens of Nigeria. Things ranging from politics to health to education to security and other topical stories making rounds in the country. You can be part of the show this morning by calling into the studio. You can call us or send an SMS or a WhatsApp message depending on what's more convenient from you. We would love to hear from you. We'd like to hear your opinion on all that we'll be talking about this morning. So yes, save the number and get ready to call when we open the phone lines 0706 048 5853. Alternatively, you can call 0915 570-8347. And we are live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. You can join us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on High Voltage News. So like, comment, and share the video so others can be part of the program this morning. All right, so we are going straight into the newspaper reviews. Let's read the newspaper headlines and see the top stories, the things that are happening this morning. And we are going straight to the Punch newspaper. Nupeng Dangote clash as tanker drivers deal collapses. Nupeng Dangote clash as tanker drivers deal collapses. Silonit court summons Mark, others over ADC leadership tussle. First Bank floors Ndoka, GLL at the Court of Appeal. 2027, Jonathan Obi hold closed-door meeting. And on it, INEC shortlist 14 new party applicants, disqualifies 157. INEC shortlists 14 new party applicants and disqualifies 157. Okay, still on the Punch newspaper, we see that 5.6 trillion naira debt. Energy crisis looms as gas firms halt supply. And then supporters await Fubara's London return ahead of resumption. Supporters await Fubara's London return ahead of resumption. All right, so we'll be looking at, let's talk a little about the Nupeng the Dangote clash as the tanker drivers deal collapses. So the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Nupeng, they are in a fresh dispute with Dangote refineries. Just few days ago, on Monday, they went on strike and called it off by Tuesday evening because of the clash they had with Dangote refinery. And this morning, we are seeing that they've gone back. They are not yet on strike, but they're having clash because Dangote, they believe the agreement that was signed few days ago, 2 days ago, he is not keeping to it. He's not keeping to the agreement at all. So the agreement allowing Dangote drivers to join Nupeng freely without harassment and barring the refinery from forming its own company union. So just barely 2 days later, 3 days later, Nupeng has accused Dangote of breaching the agreement by forcing new drivers to sign papers against union membership and asking existing drivers to remove union stickers from their trucks. So the union says this violates workers' rights and is threatening a nationwide strike again if the refinery continues in this direction. So the Dangote management, although denies the accusation and describes them as just a cheap blackmail. So the clash, we already saw the impact it made on Tuesday, how most of the fuel stations were closed because of the strike, because of Nupeng strike, how most of them in Enugu and in other parts of the country were closed, and it's led to increase in transport fares. So this is not what we want to see again. It's not what we want to see in the upcoming days. So we plead with them. We ask them to resolve any issues they have without having to go on strike or having to consider threatening any strike, because it's affecting the citizens. Whatever decisions if they make any strike decision, it affects the citizens negatively. So it's something they need to really work on. So 5.6 trillion naira debt, energy crisis looms as gas firms halt supply. So let's see what it's talking about. The gas companies are demanding payment of about 5.6 trillion naira owed by power generation companies. So because of this massive debt, they are now threatening to stop gas supply. So we come from the petrol aspect, we are entering the gas issue. So the thing is, when they stop this, it's going to cripple power plants across the country, since most of the power plants depend on gas to generate electricity. So Nigeria already, we are struggling with electricity supplies, and then the people that depend on gas, you are threatening to cut the supply. So the standoff could lead to another national blackout or prolonged load shedding. So this is an example of Nigeria's endless power crisis. The power keep puzzling, they keep wanting to know who is more, who is in charge, who can do more. So it's something that they really need to look into. When we talk about Dangote and the Nupeng, it's still the power tussle. We want to prove who can do more and that, but it's affecting the citizens. So it's something they need to actually look into, because when these debts keep piling, the ordinary citizen remain the ones to suffer with more darkness. Okay, so we also read on the Punch newspaper that court summons Mark others over ADC leadership tussle. So it looks like today's headline is just about power tussle. Okay, so the African Democratic Congress is locked in another leadership crisis. The court has summoned the former Senate President David Mark and others to appear in connection with the ongoing dispute over the party's leadership structure. Remember that yesterday we read on the newspaper headline that the court has approved David Mark to be the national chairman of ADC. But currently they're having a fight over the leadership structure. So okay, all right, so they need to, because in preparation for 2027 election, this is not the way forward. All right, so supporters await Fubara's London return ahead of resumption. Fubara in Rivers State. So the Rivers State governor, Fubara, has been in London and is expected to return soon, since his suspension is almost coming to an end. So he's expected to return soon and take over his position as the governor of Rivers State. As the governor, we recall that he was suspended in March 2025, and September is making it the 6 months. He was suspended for 6 months. So the thing is, politics in Rivers is very hot, and though Fubara's return could ease the tension or maybe trigger new drama, let's watch and see what will happen. All right, so that's what we have on the Punch. Moving on, the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard, World Cup, S-Eagles demand NFF board quits if Nigeria fails to qualify. Super Eagles demand NFF board quits if Nigeria fails to qualify. And again, we see FDC leadership battle to remove Mark. Arebwe Sola continues. All right, and Dangote Nupeng bicker over alleged breach of pact reach at DSS headquarters. So we've seen some of this at the Punch newspaper. All right, First Bank wins appeal in landmark case against Ndoka General Hydrocarbon victims in Kogi State. NAFDAC seizes 1.2 billion naira worth of unregistered fake malaria drugs. And then federal government scraps 5% telecom tax, 171 million subscribers to benefit. And let's see if there's more on the some states need $210 billion for transformation, AFDB. All right, so let's see what some of these are talking about. We see that Ansaru terrorist backs 15 years for illegal mining. So a court has sentenced a leader of the Ansaru terrorist group identified as Usman to 15 years imprisonment His crime was linked to running illegal mining operations that funded terrorist activities. So the conviction is part of government's efforts to cut off the revenue streams of extremist groups, because there are lots of people backing up these terrorists. That's why they are still thriving in the country. So this is commendable. So the judgment is a win for security agencies, and the terrorists that depend on this money might need to shut down. All right, so troops rescue 17 kidnapped victims in Kogi State. The Nigerian army says it has rescued 17 people who were kidnapped in Kogi State. So the victims were freed after a military operation in the state's forest, where kidnappers have been hiding. Security operatives are still combing the area to arrest the fleeing abductors. So kidnapping remains a very major problem in Kogi and some of the northern states, and also in Nigeria as a whole. So, but the rescue gives hope. We are hearing stories of people that have been rescued. It's giving us hope that the security agencies are still trying in their own way. So the challenge is to sustain the pressure so that kidnappers no longer find these safe havens to be doing what they want. So on the Daily Times, we see, don't sensationalize Nigerians' death situation. DMO cautions the media. DMO, the Debt Management Office, has appealed to journalists not to sensationalize stories about Nigerians' rising debts. So the agency admits that the debt profile is very high, but insists that it is still within a very manageable range. So the DMO says the report, exaggerated report, could damage investor confidence and create unnecessary panic. So the thing is that while it is true that careless reporting can cause fear, Nigerians also deserve transparency. So people want to know the real state of the economy, don't just come and sugarcoat the versions, don't just come and tell us what you think that the people need to hear. We need transparency in the way things are run in the country, how much the country is owing, how much the country has currently. So that's the thing. All right, so that's what we have on the Daily Times newspaper. I'm moving straight. We are moving to the Guardian newspaper. Open defecation crisis worsens, threatens 2030 sanitation targets. Open defecation crisis worsens, threatens 2030 sanitation targets. And on it, we see ADC split deepens as factions claims court bad mark. Again, we see this again on the Guardian newspaper. Then, a court orders chief registrar to confiscate crude on board FPSO Tamara Tokini. Next on it, MRA fought attack on journalists, urges intervention. And then last on the Guardian newspaper, we see that Lagos activates Ebola response system as DR Congo battles outbreak. Lagos activates Ebola response system as DR Congo battles outbreak. And this is something every state should do. Every state should activate this Ebola response so it doesn't become worse, it doesn't get worse, it doesn't spread. So we don't hear stories of it entered Nigeria and so many lives were lost as a result of Ebola disease. So it's something that every state should tighten the health system and ensure that nobody suffers from this. Nobody dies as a result of Ebola disease. All right, so let's see what the Nation's newspaper is talking about. INEC clears ADA, 13 others to apply for registration as parties. INEC clears ADA, 13 others to apply for registration as parties. So we saw that INEC has approved 14 new parties and dismissed 151 others as not eligible. Okay, so 54.9 trillion naira 2025 budget goes into effect. And then we see that FCCPC recovers 10 billion naira for cheated consumers. And then lastly, on the Nation's newspaper, appeal court again asked chief registrar to sell escrow crude belonging to GHL others in FPSO Tamara Tokini. And that will bring us to the end of the newspaper reviews. And if you have anything, if you have any opinion to talk about this, anything that you read and you think that you want to chip in your own mind, remember you can call into the studio on 0706 048 5853 or 0915 570 8347. Call us and let us know what you think about the whole situation, the whole things that are happening in the country. And remember, we are live on YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel on High Voltage News. Like, comment, and share the video for others to be part of it. So this morning we'll be taking our first call this morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, you're welcome. Please, your name and your location. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, the meeting between Obi and the Goodluck Jonathan.
Okay.
I'm not very comfortable about it because as long as Musa is still in PDP, so and working for Tinubu, he will do everything humanly possible to make sure that PDP fails in that election. Tinubu to pass. I'm going to hear that before now.
Okay. But you know, Wike is not a one man. He's not the person to decide who is welcomed in the party. About finding the four walls and a roof. It's about surviving the demands that comes with it. You think you are going to pay rent, but then you realize that rent is just the beginning of the story. There are so many things that are attached to it. So let me paint this picture. Like, you find a two-bedroom flat in GRA, or maybe even in less expensive areas like Ababa and Transekulu, other places, and the landlord says that the rent is around 700,000 or more. You sit down and calculate, okay, it might be tight, but it's something that you'll be able to manage. Then you now come out, the agent now says that you have to pay agency fee. That should be around 100,000. Then agreement fee. Then there's caution fee around it. And sometimes there's so many things to pay for. And before you know it, the rent is over more than this 700,000 that you planned to pay. It climbs to 1 million plus. So this is an everyday issue because people will always need a place to stay. And because the demand is very high, it's affecting the costs. The landlords are not helping. The agents are also not helping. You go to an old house, you are still paying very high, as if the house was built a few years ago or just yesterday. You are paying a lot. You are paying millions just to stay in a place. Because it's an everyday story. People go out every day looking for new apartments, looking for somewhere to stay, and they come back very frustrated, come back not knowing the way forward, not knowing what to do because of the high price. So it's something we are looking at this morning. We want to know, how is it at your side? Is it less expensive, or is it manageable, or is it killing people, like they cannot afford it at all? Because recently I heard a story, someone told me a story how we wanted to rent just a self-contained, but that was around 250,000. So by the time the agent finished calling all the fees, telling him all the landlords, all that is going to pay, he needed almost 500,000 naira. Just imagine that. So you have the money for the rent, but you don't have money for the other things that are behind it. And as a result, you cannot move into the house. You have to pay completely. We've all had our own experiences. I've had my own experience going out there to look for a roof over my head, and then it's most times it's really draining. It's very draining. You finally see a place that you like, but you do not have the money to pay for it. But what can we do about it? What can we do? Because honestly, we need a roof over our heads. we need somewhere to sleep, we need somewhere to stay, we need to put our families in this apartment, in these houses. So what exactly are we going to do about the increase, the high costs? So the government, we want to see if the government are really doing anything about it. And let me take you back to February 2025, where the Enugu State House of Assembly, they saw the problem, and they actually came up with a bill to regulate it. And the bill they call the Enugu State Real Estate Regulation and Control Bill. And what does it say? Let's take a look. It says that agents cannot collect more than 10% of the rent as their fee, and lawyers cannot collect more than 10% either. So all those funny charges, caretaker, caution fee, agreement fees, they were all banned. They are banned. So only certified agents can operate in Enugu. And if you break the law, you could pay a fine of 500,000 naira or even face 6 months in prison. It really sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful, but here's the thing: the bill is still not a law. It has gone through the first reading, the second reading, but it has not been signed yet, which means right now it's business as usual. So agents and landlords, they are still collecting all those fees. They're still collecting it. And most people have to borrow. They have to borrow to be able to pay for where they're going to stay. So the thing is, nothing is stopping these landlords. Nobody is stopping the agents. And it's affecting every other person. Because of the high demand, because of the need, is now, if you cannot pay, another person will pay. If you just close your eye, just see a building, an apartment, and you just close your eye, the next person, another person will take it. It's like everybody is living, is now very normal for everybody. It's now, that's how we've seen it in Nigeria. This is Nigeria, so what are we going to do? We cannot do anything. So we just go with it, we just flow with it, we flow with everything that is happening. And we act like nothing is really wrong in the system. So what are the government doing about it? Because this it has been since February. What are they currently doing? When are they going to sign it into law? When are they going to ensure that it's very